Bruce Wolf, Sean Thompson in for Dan and Amy. We are joined right now by Michael Brendan Dougherty of National Review. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I don't know if we're going to have time to talk about this, but I want to recommend to our listeners to read from nationalreview.com, this essay or article you wrote. Experts now agree the deplorables really are deplorable, and it's all about this polling that was done that shows somehow the Trump voters are racist. The Hillary voters were really concerned about the economy, but as you remind us, both Democrats and Republicans answered questions on whether the United States should bomb the fictive city of Agrabah from Disney's Aladdin or welcome Agrabah's refugees. So you take all this with a grain of salt, don't you, Michael?
Yeah, I do. And, and if you look, of course, in 2016, Donald Trump did better than Mitt Romney among all of America's demographic groups. He did better among blacks and Hispanics and Asians than Mitt Romney did, as well as doing slightly better among whites. So the idea that he can just be explained by calling his supporters racist, it's a comforting myth that people want to believe, at least here in the Beltway.
Michael, are we ever going to get an article that talks about the history of national populism and how it's not race that it's based on, but fear of economic collapse and a rallying cry of people who really don't understand economic in general and buy into the Keynesian government subsidy program that we constantly live with?
Well, I think in the heart of power in D.C., the populist movement disgusts people for a lot of reasons, but mostly cultural. But you have in American history these kind of rebellions from the heartland where people feel like they're being sold out by high finance. That their jobs, that their way of life is going away, is threatened by what's happening on Wall Street or on the Connecticut coast or in Washington, and elites ignored those protests at their peril, and we saw this year last year what happens when they don't listen. This was building up for a long time.
And ironically, you're turning to the abuser for help. And I find that to be laughable among these national populists. You're turning to the very corruption that got you into the mess. So in your article, you talk about the foreign policies. And I am always awestruck by the fact no one realizes Saudi Arabia, Prince Blinky Al-Weedy, he's the primary owner of Citibank, which received $15 billion in TARP money. So he's going to Saudi Arabia. Will any of this ever change, or is it just degrees of failure that we're doomed with? See, that's a question, Bruce. You see?
I'm learning from the master throughout this entire week. Yes, Michael.
Is it just, are we doomed with it? Well, if you look in the broad sweep of history, if there is no course correction, right, if we keep going down this road of decomposition and corruption within our country will fall apart. And, we'll be returned to, a dark age until something else rises again. Failure doesn't go on forever. It has to stop one way or another. You either get new leadership in the culture, in politics, in the country, in your town, in your local associations. You either get new leadership that's responsible and or
buy silver and gold. See, we got to turn it into a commercial, Michael.
Michael, I recommend another article here that you wrote, Donald Trump, auteur-in-chief. And right now, the Democrats, they so want to pin Trump with an obstruction of justice charge, when, of course, Donald Trump transcends mere, high crimes and misdemeanors like that. As you write, maybe you believe Donald Trump capable of involving himself in a foreign-led conspiracy that concluded with him becoming president of the United States, only to screw it up by acting in the most guilty way imaginable. Try to wrap your head around that. But to your eyes, it looks more like a case of the E word, that he was just having another episode. We're trying to explain perhaps the inexplicable. But you go ahead and do it for us, Michael.
Yeah, so Donald Trump is treating the presidency, and he treated his campaign like a show. His main understanding of the world is manipulating through media. And so he creates drama. He also believes that, in the Trump organization, in the Trump brand, in the Trump family, loyalty to Donald Trump is number one. And I don't think he has a grip on the idea that the executive branch of the government doesn't mean that just because someone works for it doesn't mean they have to be personally loyal to Donald Trump. And he was offended by this idea that the FBI director couldn't just clear his name. I'm your boss, is what Donald Trump is thinking, and just do me a solid on this. Be a team player.
Do me a solid. It's funny. I actually think that we're going to have, because now we have the special counsel, but we have the special counsel who formerly worked with and supported his fellow former FBI director, Comey. I'm wondering if we're going to need to get yet another counsel, an independent counsel, to handle the aspect of the case that involves the conflict of interest between Mueller and Comey. Maybe this can go on to infinity and through all three terms that Donald Trump will serve this republic.
Yeah. I mean, there's a huge culture clash between D.C. and Donald Trump that's unavoidable, and it's going to play out in unpredictable ways for months to come. I mean, the people in D.C. are not used to his leadership style. They're not used to the way he talks about anything, the way he talks about foreign leaders, the way he talks about America's foreign relations, its trade negotiations. He approaches it from a completely different way than they've all been trained to think. And so they are, in a sense, they are the host trying to reject this foreign body. And it's going to get stranger from here on out. I just don't think it's going to get normal anytime soon.
I mean, a week or so ago, remember H.R. McMaster? That seems like 7 months ago that he had to defend Trump. And God knows what's going to happen this coming week when he makes this big foreign trip. So it'll be another crisis. He lives in constant crisis mode. It's always about the ratings and beating out Schwarzenegger. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Every story of the past week would have consumed 6 weeks of another presidency. For instance, the story about congressional leaders joking that he was on the Russian payroll. That would have been a 6-week story under a normal president. It was barely a morning news cycle in D.C. I mean, it is a pace. But I do think that a lot of his supporters do love the battle and love the drama, and they want to see him fight. And I think we're going to see some pushback. Where his supporters, he can rally his supporters by getting even tougher or even crazier on the DC machine.
It'll give you something to write about. Michael Brendan Dougherty of National Review, thanks so much for joining us. We enjoy your articles as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Michael Brendan Dougherty. And you were mentioning earlier, Sean, that Rachel Maddow's ratings are going through the roof.
Through the roof?
Well, why do you think they are? Because it's the anti-Trump. That's why Colbert has gained an audience. He was on his last legs, it seemed, before he even started.
I like that look.
And the New York Times has an increase in subscriptions.
I like that look she has, like Giuliani's wife, where a hand grenade went off next to him. They have that 1,000-yard stare. I think people are tuning in to see what the hell's going on with him.
I mean, she drew ratings for bringing out his 2005 tax returns, which said nothing. It was, a Geraldo's vault or Al Capone's
Trump's
vault
right
thing.
about something. Yeah. Hate is a better motivator than love. Get everybody to hate everything. You got to motivate people.
I'd love to be on with you this week, Sean. It looks
like
the party's
down?
almost over. Well, let's do another traffic report.
Oh, good.
Okay.